Michal, how did you meet Mushka Bubble?
I met him in a candy store in Brooklyn, New York.
In a candy store?
Yeah, he owned a candy store in Brooklyn, New York. It was called Candyland. Gladys, you said you were going to sit here and not say anything, all right? You know, Mushka was a really interesting guy, really wonderful.
Really, what was he like?
Well, I don't know how he did it, but he was singularly the dustiest person I ever met.
The dustiest person? What are you talking about?
What are you missing? What don't you get?
What do you mean he was the dustiest person? You mean he wasn't clean?
Smell. No, that's a whole nother story. When it came to his kind of clean, it was a whole new dimension. But that's not what I was saying. I said he was the dustiest person. Isn't that self-explanatory?
You're saying he wasn't clean?
No, I said he was dusty, damn it. Dust. Wherever he went, he seemed to attract mounds of it. If he stood in the sunlight and you're going to ruffle his jacket, he'd disappear in a veil of it.
That's impossible.
It happens all the time to Pigpen in the Charlie Brown books.
But Michal, that's a cartoon.
Obviously based on real life evidence. I wonder if Charles Schultz ever met Mushka.
Michal, that's nuts. Mushka Bubble wasn't a cartoon.
Well, he could have been. We'd go up to him and shake his coat, and so much dust would fly up in the air, you think that you were in a dust storm, like in The Wizard of Oz. Gladys, please, we don't need to hear Dorothy. No, not even MTM. Just sit there and be quiet.
Would you guys knock it off?
Look, to Mushka, dust wasn't just dirt. He had more stories about dust than you could ever imagine. He used to tell me that he came from heaven and that all the dust around him proved he was a heavenly being. He used to say that we should all be good boys and girls because our ancestors were in the dust.
Ancestors in the dust?
Well, you know the saying, ashes to ashes. Dust. Anyway, he'd say that our ancestors were in the dust and they were watching us.
Oh, that must have been a perfect thing to tell little kids, that there were actual people in the dust looking at you.
Well, it did kind of freak me out. And now that I think of it, it did get me to keep my room clean. But anyway, he had this one cabinet that sat on the side of the store. I think the cabinet sat there. Gladys, could you heat the coffee here, please? It sat there for about 100 years without being touched. On the front of the cabinet, he drew in the dust a big face with a frown on it. And anytime he wanted to make a point, that no matter what you were doing, you were being watched.
How in the world could he say that to little kids, that they're always being watched?
Is it any different than Santa Claus? He knows when you're naughty. He knows when you're nice.
Well, you do have a point there.
And so, if we were being bad, he'd turn to the cabinet and say, you see, they're looking at you. And so they look happy. And then we were supposed to say no. And then he'd say back, why do you think they're frowning at you? And we were supposed to say, because I wasn't listening or not doing what I was supposed to do.
What do you mean you were supposed to say?
Well, this would go on practically every day. How the hell else do you think he'd keep all those little kids in line? Besides, back in those days, we had something that seems to be missing today.
What's that?
Respect. We had respect, damn it. We knew our place. We knew what he would say, and we knew what we were supposed to say back.
Every time?
Well, every now and then I'd be a little bold, and I'd say something like, well, they're frowning because their mouths are filled with dust, and they haven't brushed their teeth in 100 years. And Mushka would yell back, a comedian, a funny man.
Well, then what would he do?
Well, one or two things. He'd say, I'm going to give you a knock on the capella. Or he'd scrunch up his face and growl. When he did that, I'd do the same thing. Gladys, please, knock it off. Would you stop it? We would both scrunch up our faces, buckle our lips shut, and stare at each other and growl. Except when Mushka scrunched up his face, his mustache raised up inside his nostrils, and his eyebrows came down. His eyebrows came down and almost covered up his eyes.
Was he angry?
Mushka Bubble angry at a child? Never. He'd do it because he knew it would only take us about 5 seconds till any of us broke down in laughter.
You mean you never saw the guy get angry?
Well, not exactly. Muska was not what you would call an effervescent type of person. His resting facial position normally looked like he was in severe pain. His mouth had this upturned position that showed a mouthful of yellow teeth. Now, for most people, upturned lips would resemble a smile, but with his eyes squinting and those big patches of eyebrows hanging down from his brow, it looked more like a grimace. I don't know if it was because he was kind of blind or he was pissed off, but he was always squinting. He always had this look like he's trying to see something. But most of the time it was either because he couldn't find his glasses or he was yelling at his eyebrows.
Yelling at his eyebrows?
Oh my God, you should know every day he'd have an argument with either his beard, his mustache, his eyebrows. He'd yell, "Why in the world did God put a frost above my eyes?" Or, "Where the hell did all this spaghetti come from on my face?" Or he'd scream, "Get me my tweezers! Where are the tweezers?" He's always telling his eyebrows and his beard that if they didn't behave, he'd tweeze them out one at a time. Then he'd make this squeaky voice like his eyebrows were screaming, "No, no, 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 leave us alone, leave us alone."
Why didn't he just trim them?
Well, that's like saying, why didn't he wear glasses? He never knew where the tweezers were. And if there was a time where he would find them, he'd just hold them up to his eyebrows and say, "You see, you better behave or else." You see, to Muska, everything was alive. Everything was conscious. Everything had a voice. His eyebrows, his beard, his nose hair. When he'd eat food, it would get stuck in his beard. And if anyone said to him that he had a piece of meat stuck there, he'd bellow in the voice of his beard, "Are you trying to take food out of my mouth?"